Well, here we are back live in our studio at Portimao for the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals. It's Thursday, day 5 of the event, and of course today we started the racing, so a little bit of action out there on the track. Now, 4 of our drivers actually secured 2 wins from 2 heats. So in the juniors, our pole sitter, Bruno Bolito. In seniors, it's the birthday boy, Piers Lahane, who was also the pole sitter yesterday. In the DD2 Masters, we have Scott Campbell, who's a former champion at the Grand Finals. And of course, Ben Cooper, last year's Max Masters champion, took out both his heats in the DD2 class. Now, before we get into more technical and a little bit of discussion tonight, I thought I'd give you a little bit of insight into what we did last night when we left you. We were on our way to the barbecue. So, check out the party, a little bit of music, a little bit of fun, and some great food. Compliments of BRP Powertrain. Welcome to the midweek barbecue, courtesy of the organisers here at the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals. Let's check out the food and the people, music. Looks like fun.
You sing a song for us?
Let's see, what could I sing? I don't know, what could I sing?
Afrikaan.
How's the food? Looks like chips and chips. Oh, a bit of spaghetti.
Yeah, it is good. It's good. Yeah.
So there's not really much barbecue on there.
No. I just tried. I'm not a big fish person, but it's all fish, so I just tried it. What I had.
Okay. Now this is wishful thinking. Ich hat gefunden 2 Österreicher.
Yeah. Das stimmt.
How's the party? How's the week? Enjoying it in Portugal?
Yeah, it's great because we won the trip.
Wow.
Yeah, had a challenge,
What kind of challenge?
gymnastics.
Okay, so you won a trip to Portugal?
Yes.
To the grand finals
Yes.
for karting?
Yes.
Okay. And the connection?
The organizer made a event management course, and there at the event we won the trip.
Fantastic. So you guys are gymnasts?
Yeah.
Okay, so tomorrow at the track, any chance of a little exhibition? Come on. Did he not tell you that's part of the deal?
You forgot that part.
Yeah, he forgot the part that said you're actually the lunchtime entertainment.
Yeah.
Enjoy, and we'll see you on the grid. To say goodbye.
I don't know. Goodbye, I don't know.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci, hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.
La vista.
Of course, from the fun and the food last night, everything turned a little bit more serious this morning after the morning warm-up. And this is when the initial heats got underway. Now, of course, tomorrow we still have 1 heat to go. But with 2 heats out of the way and so many drivers, 276 drivers, of course, every race is crucial. Now, something that we also heard lots of talk about was the critical aspect of the slipstream here at Portimao, at the Algarve circuit. And of course, with a long straight, more than 400 metres, sliking down to the first real corner, more than 12 seconds for the average driver, full gas. Now, we thought we'd check out a little bit more about how does this affect the driver, RPM, slipstream, everything, all put together. What difference does this make when most people are not used to having such a long straight? And of course, on this type of circuit, not only chassis setup, engine and so on, but also tyre pressures for such long races. And we found an interesting addition to the technical paddock with a compressor. But I'll leave this to the video watch and have a look at this. Quite interesting, and we'll see really what is one of the major factors today affecting everyone's lap time and the racing. In Portimao, and I thought we'd have a look at the Rotax workshop to see where all the technical issues, complaints and whatever are dealt with during the event when you have over 300 drivers. Now, Daryl Smith, the test and development coordinator, driver.
I'm the fix-it man this weekend. Yeah.
Daryl, just to give us a bit of an idea, we know that a lot of people, we've been watching the racing, they're struggling a little bit with this track, some of the different aspects of the circuit here in Portimao. Yeah. But how does this affect the technical side?
It's been quite a challenge for us too. We don't normally run on a straight as long as this, and we haven't done in the grand finals before, so therefore between the straight itself, it's quite windy, has been quite windy over the last few days, and we've had to change some parameters on the carburetor, for example, or what they can do to the carburetor, jetting, all that type of situation to actually cure some of the problems.
Now, everyone here, of course, are the best of the best in their country. Yeah. And in some cases, you know, Florida Winter Tour, Rotax, Euro Challenge and so on, also the best drivers from there. When you bring them all together, a little bit, I guess, the psychology behind this, that I should be in the top 5 or I should be in the top 10. Yeah. But these technical aspects of the circuit, do you think they really change this confidence?
I think so. I think when they're at home with their own gear, it makes a difference because you know the gear. You know your engine, you know your chassis, you know the setup basically. Come to a neutral area and it's a little bit different and difficult for that matter. You know, all the motors, we put them together the same. We run them on the dyno. The performance is the same, as close as I've ever seen in the last, you know, all of the grand finals we've run in the past. But on track can be different, without a doubt. And so therefore, someone who may have a teammate who get a slipstream or whatever, they see an RPM and then, my engine's no good, simple as that. So we try as hard as we can to manage that and to sort of best suit something to suit them. Yep.
Of course, everyone sets the cart up different. Yes. Everyone has a different driving style as well.
Yeah, of course, you know, and you know, I mentioned to you earlier today about the fact that with this slipstream on this particular track, you know, if someone pulls out too early, as an example, and they've got a good toe but they pull out earlier, they have to pull back in because they can't pass for whatever reason, maybe even some turbulence to the airbox, and then the guy behind them has got a good toe and passes 2 of them. Immediately that driver thinks, my engine's no good. Yeah.
What could be the difference, do you think, when you look at the lap times? You know, we're talking about thousands of tenths here, or RPM, whatever. So is it a big difference?
It can be, yeah. We're talking up to 1,000 RPM with the engine difference, you know, from the slipstream alone. And it's just immense. It's
1.5 kilometres, a little over this. So, you know, there's another circuit, Zuera, where I think they're on the gas for maybe, 14 seconds.
Yeah, I think so. But, you know, it's also a learning curve for us, and we, you know, do a little bit more homework on this, and you know, I'm sure we'll solve it.
Of course, I don't know many races where you get free chassis, free engines, free food, free parties.
Yeah, I suppose so. You know, some free advice and also some free work by a number of guys here who've done a hell of a job. All the Rotax guys really working hard. So, you know, let's just keep on keeping on.
Of course, I know you're doing some long hours, but a little bird told me that today is your birthday.
Really? Yeah, I suppose it is.
You and 3 other people I know in the paddock today, but we thought that we'd share it with everybody. So, Daryl, we wanted to wish you happy birthday.
Thanks, Jen.
And Manfred Weisgaber from Heidenau.
Yes, this is good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gerald. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Manfred Weisgaber from Heidenau, representing Heidenau. Now, of course, Manfred, running the Mojo tyre here at the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals, you told me there's this fantastic compressor that I just have to see. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, because normally you have a standard compressor, what you would maybe a little bit bigger than what you would use at home. And when I came into this servicing park, I saw this kind of equipment. It's still a compressor, but they have included an air dryer, which is more or less drying the air going into the big vessel, which means if you have less humidity, you have a more constant tire pressure in cold conditions and in hot conditions, which means that you can drive the cart more or less at the same conditions. It's not affected by the expansion of the humidity in the tire. And I've never seen something like this before. This for me is really Formula One style, you know.
Not on a kart track anyway.
Not on a kart track. And I think we have to make it mandatory on all international Rotax events, because we have the best tires, so we need also the best air for our tires.
Of course, a lot of time and effort goes into developing these tyres, different models for different classes, right from the Minimax and Micromax through to the DD2 and the wet tyres. Now, inside the tyre, then you're saying if everyone had something like this, less moisture, therefore less change in temperature during the race or over the session.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes you see that drivers, you know, maybe not being as fast in the beginning of the race, get fast at the end of the race. So maybe some are doing the adjustment, you know, of the tires that they work better in the second half of a race. But if you have more stable, it's easier for us, you know, easier for every driver, and you don't have so much gambling in there.
Because sometimes, as we've seen even in Formula One, the tyres are really, really critical to the performance in the end.
Yeah, that's true. And this is also affecting, let's say, our business, because more and more people come to me and say, look, I've heard in Formula One, the temperature window is 7 degrees, and which is the perfect temperature window for our mocho tires, and then they're all chasing just to get this temperature, which is a complete nonsense at our tires, because they have a much wider range.
I think you'll actually delete one of the jobs of the mechanic, because they all run out there when they come off the track and quickly check the tyre pressure when they're hot.
You know that you will never be able, you know, to change the habits of mechanics. You know, they are still warming up the carts on the trolley, which is absolutely nonsense, and you will never get that out that they are checking the tire pressure. But what they will realize, there's less increase between cold and hot tires, because if there's less humidity, more stable tire pressure. It's simple as that.
It's very interesting, and you asked me to help you get that in the box so we can get it on the plane, so we better do that now.
Yes, okay. You take the big one, I take the small one.
So there we have a little bit of a technical insight into the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals here in Portugal. And some interesting stuff off the racetrack. Now, I thought this afternoon to make a little bit of an interesting topic off the racing, but still regarding karting. I have three prominent people in the karting industry with me. On my left, Thierry from Sodikart, Jemanovic, and Thierry, you're from France, one of our Max Senior manufacturers. Roland Geidel from RGMMC establishment, and of course Roland, an organiser and promoter of the Rotax Max Euro Challenge and several other events on behalf of BOP Powertrain, and lots of other things also, Roland, that you're involved in, so it should be interesting. Vroom magazine, of course, represented by Salvatore Mertas, and Salvatore all the way from Italy, not too far, but it's great to have you as well as a representative of the media. Now, Terry, I thought we'd start not with the DD2, but with the Senior Max. As one of our manufacturers, you've been here at the Grand Finals now a few times?
Yeah, we've been now for 3 years. I have a junior first and 2 years of senior max. For us, it's a real challenge for us and a fantastic event.
And of course, as a manufacturer in karting, and lots of people speak about this, you guys are always thinking about the future. Now, as a manufacturer in karting, lots of people say, karts change a little bit every year and you stick a kit or some new accessories, a little bit more money, but there's really a lot more behind this in the thinking and the planning and the ideas of this company.
Wow. It's difficult to say exactly, but for Sodi, we try to push the go-kart in a way like we doesn't like at this time. We are not very comfortable with what we see, particularly this year. We push the maximum to reduce all the cost of the kart. Mm-hmm. It's only our philosophy now, and we have decided really to push only on that way. So for us to be at an event like this one, it's very important because we can prove that it's possible to do a world championship in a very good condition for every driver. So the kart wants only to go in that way now, and not in different way we don't like.
Of course, I saw the booklet that every driver receives with the kart this weekend, and the information, how they should do this or this, simple things. Also, for example, if it rains, basic changes, as much support as possible, and really, really promoting your brand. Yeah,
this book I think it's a good tool for each driver. Which is a book with Nicolas is here with me and today, and just to help each driver and to say, the go-kart is more simple than you think, and don't take a lot of time for nothing. You use only this tool and you can be very fast, and it's sufficient to practice go-kart. So.
Now, of course, you said you've seen things that you don't like. Some things, what sort of things?
We don't like in the market at this time, of course, the cost. The cost for us, for Sodica, for my boss, Gilles Damérian, it's incredible to pay now more than 12, 13, 15,000 each weekend to race. It's crazy. It's crazy. We are at this time we are killing our sports. So Sodica doesn't want to go in this way. It's why we push for the Rotax philosophy. We push for new project. At this time we have a project of academy with Rotax engine, of course. We want to have an academy with each driver can come, use the same chassis with the same engine, exactly that we have in the final, and we want to develop this, especially for the Micro Max and Mini Max for the junior, for kids. We don't want to see parents pay more than a few thousand euros for a season. So it's our goal now.
Of course, you've got a challenge there ahead of you, and we know how things are. I'll cut over here to Roland Geidel. Now, Roland, organising and promoting big events, and it has been said, in some cases the events are becoming more and more professional. But of course, as we know, not only in Rotax racing, but in karting, you can go from very basic recreational karting, which is the majority of drivers, right through to, club, national, international level. So maybe you can also tell us a little bit about your philosophy or your ideas and where you see today this future in karting going.
Well, I think that firstly, everybody always speak about cost, and we must remember one thing: people looking for quality. Wherever you drive in a national race or you go international, it costs money. Motorsport is expensive. That will not say we have to spend the money on the wrong way. We must cut cost, but we must cut the cost cleverly. Many people, their sponsors, the driver, is the fathers, is the families, and they expect high quality. But I think that the most important is that the national level come back to a point where most people can come into karting. If that will happen, then the international level can grow with that. If the national level dies out and it's in a bad state in the moment, the international level will die out and we will have no karting anymore.
This is true. Even I was speaking with some of our friends from down under, Australia, and they said, there are people coming in, there are new drivers, there are international drivers like we see here, and the middle section is starting to disappear. And perhaps this is this national level that you speak about. When you hear that a manufacturer also has this thinking, does it make you believe, yes, we're on the right track and we have to do something about this?
I don't think we are really on the right track in this moment. I think the national level need to up their games. They need to be more professional, and they have to realize that the people that start karting want something for the money. They need the federations need also to upgrade their games. I think that's the most important in karting.
Of course, this is something that we hear quite often, and Salvatore probably could support this in saying, from the media perspective, how often we hear, we could do this, but maybe the federation this, or perhaps we don't have the money to do this or that. How do you see it from a media perspective? Because you probably represent the ideas, and of course we know you have to stay objective.
Well, I mean, every meeting I have with pretty much all the operators around the world, it seems that we all agree that nowadays we are having a huge problem in terms of numbers, but mainly at national level. From the kids who went to the sport very early and are having difficulty in staying in the sport because more often than not is complicated to understand, is very, very expensive, and if results don't come, then they might just decide to do something else.
And of course, from what Thierry said about young people coming into the sport, what they can offer as a manufacturer, that even perhaps production gets more and more expensive, but when they look at what people are paying. However, do you think that Rotax or the Rotax philosophy or the strategy, as he said, encourages people to be able to come in as a young person who's learning, as a newcomer, or even, at a national level?
It does indeed. This is one of the reasons why Vroom, the magazine I work for, decided to back the Rotax project since its inception about 10 years ago. The fact is, though, that the big manufacturers are starting only very recently to back the Rotax project, and in the meantime, we've lost so many drivers, and we've lost so much potential, mainly for political reasons, for bad strategy in terms of marketing and so on. So seeing it from a media perspective, it's tough to admit that there hasn't been enough farsightedness from most manufacturers in terms of supporting the right programs, in terms of allowing more and more young drivers to come into the sport. And now we're just trying to sort it out, but it's more and more difficult nowadays.
Of course, Thierry, hearing this as a manufacturer, you have any thoughts about what Roland and Salvatore have said?
Yes, I understand Roland when he say quality is the most important thing. Sure, of course, but we also we think also that quality is not only cost. Quality is sometimes something very simple. We have to do more simple everything about the kart. Everything, like Salvatore said, go-kart is too difficult to understand for everybody, for parents. You can imagine what is it. You have to imagine a parent with a kid like 6 or 7 years old, and to discover the go-kart. Wow, they say, well, how many categories you have, the cost also, because all time the professional want to take the money immediately to these parents, because they say, oh, the go-kart market is only a few years now. It's also a big problem, we think. For us to say to the young driver, you stay in the go-kart only until 14 or 15 years old, is probably one of the most problem of the go-kart at this time, because the market is very, very small, and if you keep this philosophy, I think you kill the market of the go-kart. So for us, we have to be more simple, with engine very strong, with chassis very easy to use, and with race with perhaps a timing with only perhaps 2 days race. Not why we have to arrive on Wednesday, Thursday. If you see some other sports, you arrive only on Saturday and you leave on Sunday. Why we don't make exactly the same? It's crazy, you know, because they are so young, the drivers are so young, and I think it costs a lot to arrive 2, 3, 4 days before the weekend. I don't know, and we don't understand why. For example, in France, in the category we have decided for next year to begin the race for the kid only on Saturday morning. It's finished to arrive on Thursday and Friday. We don't want any more. So we have decided to change the philosophy, and the French Federation is okay with us for this.
And of course, Roland, you probably have some thoughts about this because you run international races. But as I know, James and Oliver, your children also raced very young, and you probably did quite a few miles travelling. There's always this...
I think sport in general have changed the face over the last 5 or 10 or 15 years. Sport, tennis, I believe, is the same. People have to practice. Sport has become a profession already for young people today. They choose to go the way in sport, what they believe they're doing right. Fathers may push children. I don't know anything else than karting, but when I listen to other fathers and mothers or people in sport, they say the same politic is in every sport. I don't know how to solve it. I don't think we can solve it here in our little meeting, but this is right what Terry say. Maybe to make it a little bit shorter, that's not the right and wrong question to the scenario. But what I think mostly important is that whoever organizes a race, it's professional organized. I've been on very many races. The people that organize races should not organize races. There's people that cannot do it, they don't put effort into it, and that's where we can up karting very much, I believe.
And I know myself from many years, we won't say how many, not that many, that mostly this is what people leave for, because they say, oh, it's disorganized, we sit around too long, or there's not enough time, or it's too expensive. And it all comes down to, I guess, the planning and the decisions as to how we're going to do this and why we do it this way.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is for the ASN, so the federation, also to educate people how to treat people. Because many people, when they come to a kart track, they're not treated very friendly. Many tracks in the world, they're treated very bad.
Not necessarily like a customer or a...
Exactly. It's customer. It's a small child. That's what we have to think about. And some of the officials, some I say, not all, but some, should not be there. They don't understand the sport.
And of course, Roland, you always meet people at the gate, I know this, and welcome them. However, this is not such an easy thing to do when there are so many people who would say, yeah, in our national or our club, there's only us. We do the work, and sometimes the volunteers are the people that we get.
It doesn't cost money to be friendly.
No. Okay, so the message from Roland Geidel is to smile and be friendly, but really some perfect points, Roland, about organisation and treating the people, the customers or the drivers. Salvatore, I don't know also if you see anything different, because we're looking at it from on the track and you look at it after the event normally and you hear many things.
Well, you know, the thing is, there are so many players involved, and for I think quite a long time, not everyone has done his job, and namely some federations, some key players in the industry, and also sometimes even us, the media. So I think there are so many problems. We have to, you know, stick to our own role, do our best, each one of us. Roland in his role as organizer, treating, the drivers well and welcoming them and making them feel appreciated. Thierry, representing the manufacturers, producing the top quality material at the lowest price, because don't forget that motorsport is expensive, but it doesn't have to be prohibitive. And myself, in representing the media, in making sure that the sport has as much visibility as possible, and always trying to making karting not only our little game, but also trying to export our beautiful sports into the other disciplines as well. This is something key that I always try to have people understand, because there is so much competition out there nowadays with all the sports kids can do, and karting is one of the most exciting sports, and even most educating sports around. But if we don't appreciate it ourselves, nobody else will. So we have to educate everyone to the good of a sport, and each one within its own role. And we must not forget that everyone has to do it at a certain level. So Roland does it at international level, so it has to represent like some professionalism, but that doesn't mean that a national or regional or even a local race must do exactly what Roland does. We must have organizers who do who organize races catered for their own little customers, let's say. So we must have organizers who do the races for the young kids, a local level, which is different from organizing the Rotax Grand Finals, for sure. I feel nowadays with the confusion there is in our sport, the Rotax program is probably one of the few keystones out there for the young drivers, for the young generation to approach the sport. It's easy, very easy to understand, to approach. The program is clear, and is the same everywhere around the world. So there is still some good in a sport. We have to make it known as much as possible.
And of course, there's always going to be evolution, and some revolutions like the electric car happening. And, this is the thing. There will always be these things. And as Roland said also, sport itself has changed. It's become more professional, and you only have to look really on the internet and on TV and in the media to see what is expected. Tennis was one example he used. In women's tennis, now they have huge advertising and the same prize money as men. And, the president of the ATP would say, 10 years ago, if you talked to me about sponsorship, the girls playing tennis just play tennis. Today, they really represent so many sponsors.
We obviously have to go with times. We have to adapt, not only the organizers or the manufacturers, but also the media. Nowadays we have Facebook, we have Twitter, our work has become like 3 times what we used to do, because it's not only the magazines anymore. So it's constant changes, and it's changing even always faster. So we have to be flexible. We need younger people as well. This is always very important to have,
next
fresh
generation.
The next generation is not only in drivers, but in manufacturers, organizers, media people, because they bring new energy, new ideas, new approaches. So we have to go along with times changing. And as I said, if everyone sticks to a job and does it, to the maximum of its potential at every level, then I'm sure the sport will be, 100 times better in the next 10 years or so.
The frustrating part is that you feel and hear and see that people know something has to happen. But as Roland said earlier, also, Thierry, you said some things we don't like at the moment, what we see, you know, and in this way, Roland, no, we're not doing it like we need to do it, but sometimes you have to stop and think about this. How do we change? Which way do we go? We're at the crossroad. Any last thoughts, Thierry, before we finish?
You know, for us, we have a dream in Sodicart, is to find a go-kart in supermarket. This day, I think it will be a new history for the go-kart, and we are working on with a very, very low cost, and the only objective is to have kid. And you know, if we can offer to all the kids, to thousand and thousand kids, a real kart, not a toys, a real kart, with a very low price on the supermarket with thousand and thousand go-kart in 2 or 3 weeks during Christmas, it will be probably a new way for the go-kart. But we are working on for 2 or 3 years, and we really hope to do this very quickly.
Good news out there for all the kids.
Well, let's exactly. Christmas is coming.
Yeah, and of course we know that Sodi is leading the way with the technology. Always new things, many new things. Now, Roland, one last thought.
Yeah.
You know, as in your position as a promoter, as an organizer, and someone who is well respected in karting and gives lots of advice also to people who say, well, how do we do it right? Or what can you tell me? Is there anything, where do they start now?
I think the idea, actually, I never heard it before, to buy a go-kart in the supermarket is fantastic. It would not be bad at all. Christmas is coming, and it would not be bad. The problem, okay, is where do they go and practice? Where do they go and racing? And maybe we should give Bernie Ecclestone a little bit to think, because I'm sure that he will watch this now. Because I don't understand why every Formula One track in the world doesn't build a go-kart track. It will cost absolutely little bit asphalt. They have no noise problem. They have parking spaces. They have the total infrastructure to build the track. For very small money, a little bit asphalt. And that's where all Formula One races come from. So I can't understand that many tracks in all over the world is such a bad shape. Very few really new tracks come up. So when that will happen and they can go to a good track, then I think Saudi car can sell a lot of go-karts in the supermarket.
I agree. Okay.
And of course, we're sitting right now only a few hundred meters from an unbelievable circuit here at Algarve. And there are many car parks. Of course, in the summer, these two tracks here, which become one for the grand finals, are just flat out. The whole time, every day, driving. Lots of parking, great facilities. You know, for everybody, it's easy. So what do you think, Salvatore? Can we run something about this, that we start a little bit of a...
Well, you know, I don't know if many people know this, but the first time this year, the karting media have been asked by the FIA to be represented within the FIA Media Council, which is something unprecedented. And I have the fortune to be present at this meeting, representing all my colleagues in karting. And this is, I don't know, maybe I'm too passionate about this, but this is what I always say to our other colleagues from Formula One to rally to the other type of motorsports, that we have to work together. Because, of course, karting is where everything begins. We have to make sure that the sport gets more visibility, and of course Algarve is a top example, and we hope there will be more in the future, for sure.
So we've got that to look forward to. We're going to stop there and go grab some dinner. So tomorrow, back on the track, and thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.